Hi everyone. Today I have Bruno Morenzi from DocDoc on the call, and every now and then I come across a tool that I think that entrepreneurs need to make use of in their business. And what I always try and do is I try and get the person responsible for the tool on the website so we can learn more about the tool, learn more about the entrepreneur behind the tool. So, welcome, Bruno.
Hi.
I want you to introduce yourself to the audience and let's learn more about you first and also then DocDoc.
Great, Iwan. Well, thanks for having me on the show. It's a great pleasure to be here with you tonight. My name is Bruno Morenzi. I'm founder of DocDoc. We're a company that basically turns your inbox into a document management tool. We're based in Montreal. We've been at this for a little more than a year now.
So let's explain that a little more in detail. When you say we turn your documents into your email into a document management tool, give the user, our audience, kind of like a simple use case for them to understand the need for DocDoc.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of ways to share and exchange documents among colleagues or with your clients. The key problem with these solutions, whether there are collaboration platforms or just simple file sharing sites, is the documents, they go in and out of your inbox. So you always need to keep the other file sharing sites you use up to date based on the attachments you send and receive. And that's a big problem. So we decided to get the document management features such as version history, tracking versions, building an archive. But instead of doing this outside the email, we did it over the email because that's where the documents are exchanged.
Oh, okay. So within the email platform itself, you have the whole document management, and in terms of the revisions, if there are several different updates of the email, you can see all that within the email itself.
Exactly, and then as the email itself is a key thing because we don't import or copy or duplicate the data. It's really a view on your email. So we don't keep a copy of every single attachment you have. We really just list the attachments you have in your mailbox, and we really use the data you already have.
Okay, so you say you don't keep the copy of the actual document itself. So I think is it looking up the old email documents to see what it's the same file name, is it the same file, and then you're basically categorizing it within one email thread and saying these are all different versions of that document?
It looks a lot what you say. What we do is when you create your account, we get access to the mailbox through IMAP, basically the same way an email client will use. And then we index and we look at all the attachments on which message they're attached, to whom it was sent or from whom it was received. And we do a little bit more than compare the same file name. So if there's version numbers, if there's dates, keywords such as new or draft or initials of the people in the file name, then we can track this is a new version of the same document.
Okay.
And that's how we build version history.
Oh yeah, and I was always trying to find out, like with every new tool I look at, I was trying to find out, okay, how exactly did you come up with figure out that there was a need for the product?
Well, like all good startups, the need came from personal use. So we were a small company trying to put files in common, and we tried a lot of things. The key problem was these files, each of us were sending them to client, to colleague, partners outside. Whatever we wanted to find the document and where it was supposed to be, it was always outdated because the person forgot to update it from the communication with the client. So the idea came to, well, let's build something that feeds and uses email rather than tries to get you out of it. Okay. And I guess the best way to explain would be to show it to you, really.
I guess that's probably the best way, because the next question I was about to ask was, but I know that right now, Google Doc, right? You know Google Docs. They have a way in which you can actually share your documents and also actually collaborate on a document where you see this person is doing something, you can actually see it live. So I was trying to figure out, okay, if there are tools like that, I know there's an advantage to being able to do it in your email. I was trying to figure out, okay, why would if there's Google Docs and all that, why would someone want to still just do it right there in their email? Or is there ability for your tool to integrate with other tools that are there? Or
Yeah, well, Google Docs is something we see as complementary. Google Docs is really for hardcore collaboration. So you're working in sales, or you're preparing a deal with someone, and you want to draft the deal you want to send. So you're both going to be on Google Docs, editing the document, and that's a really good tool for it. But at some point, you're going to send the document to the client. That client's going to come back with changes. And you don't really want the client to see every single change you make in the document. So the client isn't going to see the Google Docs document. They're going to see the version you send them by email. Then you're going to see the version they send you back by email. So the Google Docs is going to be between you and your colleague. And there's still going to be an email exchange between you, your colleague, and the other client you're trying to get. And so that's where our use case is, between you and the other ones. Rather than Google Docs is really hardcore collaboration to get the version out.
okay, so I'm trying to picture this correctly. So with the Google Docs, you have the collaboration between you and the end user, the client, right now. But within your tool, the use for your tool is basically I'm able to see all the different iterations of that document within my own email client, not really necessarily the client itself seeing all the different versions. Is that the case?
Yeah. And Google Docs is really when you're trying to get a document ready to be sent. Mm-hmm. Once it's sent and received, that's where we come in.
Okay. So let's just go ahead and share with the users, the clients, the audience, exactly how this tool works. So let's just go ahead and start the presentation. I think this is something that my audience will find useful. Yes,
go ahead. Can you see let me share the screen right now. Okay, start. Can you see it now?
It's coming up, and just so you know, when I actually edit this, I'm going to edit this part out, assuming the audio and everything records correctly.
Okay.
So I'm still waiting for it to show up. Okay, it's now up.
Sounds good. Well, one of the first use case I want to show is you receive an email from someone, and that's something that can happen oftentimes when you work with people that aren't really well organized, or people that just don't use DocDoc, for example. Someone sends you an email and say they need a document, you send them a week later, a week before, and they can't find it, so they're asking, can you send me the latest version? And basically they're asking you to do the work. With DocDoc, what it adds is this little part just below the message. So we're in Google Apps right now, and so when you open the message, so you can see, so I'm having a message from someone that asked me to send them the latest version of a document I sent them already. So instead of me searching for that document and hunting down my own email to see it, I can just click on the latest files I've exchanged with that person. And there it is. So I can click on the little envelope right here, and it opens that exact email I sent them a week before. Then I can just go ahead and forward the message and say, well, here's the document you asked for. So it's really about making things that can take a lot of time, that can be really tedious, to make them very easy to do. So you just, from the email, you click on the name of the person, you find the message, you click on the envelope, and you get right ahead to the email where that file is attached.
Wow.
Another use case that looks a lot like it, but shows a different application is, for example, someone that asks you for edits on a document they're sending you. So they're sending you a document and say, do you want to review this and make sure there's nothing you want to change on it? Again, you can just click on the name, but instead of using the envelope to open the email, you can click on the little icon that shows a document, and this is going to open the document itself. This session was closed. So this is going to open the document itself. So there's no need to download the document, making sure you have the right software to view it. You can see right away all the documents that were exchanged, so you can review all the different files. You can go to, if you know which page you want to look at, and then once you've previewed the file,
Mm-hmm.
You can go back to the message and just reply. So, yes, there are some changes that you should do on page 5 or 6. So all this can be done in a lot fewer steps. So instead of downloading it, first finding the email, downloading the document, opening it, you just click on the name of the person. You see the list of documents that were exchanged with that person, and you can preview any of these files straight from your browser. So there's nothing to download. It's all in your browser window.
Okay, so the first use case was actually finding the files, and then the second use case is now actually instead of having to download the files, you're able to preview the files within your browser. Right?
Exactly.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so this it's really handy to have a way to, without using search, straight from a message, seeing files related to the message you're reading. And to go a little further than this, one of the examples of making sure you're working on the latest version, for example, say I'm going to a meeting and I've received the agenda, and one thing a lot of people are going to do are just going to search for the file they're looking for. Oops, I'm not in the right window. So they're just going to search for the file they're looking for. And when they see the result, they just expect the latest one that comes on top to be the latest file. So if you open the email, you can scroll down to the latest message, and you can assume the file attached there is the latest one. Now what we add to this is you can see the link here called version history. So if you click on that one, it's going to find other different versions of that same file in other emails. And you can see there's another one in a more recent email that came out. Unfortunately, probably my search query didn't find that message for some reason. So the keywords I put in weren't complete. So that happens a lot. So you put out a search, you find the newest message, and you don't even know, but there's an even newer version available. And DocDoc lets you find that version very easily. So you can just, from that message, you can see it's the newer one, and you can go and you open that message. So it really goes beyond the search. The search will get you to a certain point. Our tool will make sure that what you found is indeed the latest version you were looking for.
Okay, so let me see if I can summarize the 3 use cases you've said so far. The first one was actually finding the document easily. The second one was actually being able to preview the document without even having to going through the hassle of actually downloading it. And the third one is actually the ability for you to at all times see the most recent version of the document, right?
Yeah, exactly. And once you have the version history, let me show you something that's pretty good. The version history, when the document is a Word document or an OpenOffice file, what we add above a list of version is the ability to see what's been inserted and what's been deleted between the version attached and the previous version you sent. So let me give you an example. We're working on a document. I send the document to a client to get feedback. He sends the document back with some edits, and now I need to have a quick look at what's been changed in it. So if I just click in Changes in Document, I'm going to see quickly, straight from my email, nothing to download, nothing to open, what's been inserted on which page and what's been deleted. So I can really have a quick view of what's been changed in the document I just received. Now this is...
I say that some lines are green and some lines are red. Can you explain that for us?
Yeah, the lines in green are things that were added in the document, and the lines in red were parts that were deleted in the document. So this gives you a quick view. Now what's even more useful is you see the button here that's called Compare Side by Side. When you click on it, it's going to open, the session was... it's going to open both of these documents, one on the left, the version you sent on the left, and the version you just received on the right. And you can go just one change after the other, and it's going to bring you to the page so you can see here's a part that was inserted. So you can really compare, okay, that's what I sent, that's what he added, okay, that's fine. And you can just go from change to change, and it really shows you from the document to another for example, we see here that little part was removed and that was replaced with a little bigger paragraph. So it's very useful to be able to compare and see side by side these two versions. And this, I didn't need to download the documents. I didn't need to use track changes. So it doesn't matter if the person disabled or enabled track changes. We don't depend on this. And all this is within my browser, so I can be anywhere, no matter what I have installed on my computer.
Okay, so I'm trying to figure out, the tool DocDoc, does it work with any kind of document? Is it just Word document? Does it work with PowerPoint? Does it work? I mean, what does it work with as in type of document, and what does it work with at this point?
Well, that's a good question. The preview, for example, seeing files, one of the second use case I've showed you, this works with a large set of documents. It can work with Excel, PowerPoint, Word, PDFs, images, a lot of different documents we handle on that one. The ability to compare two documents like this, right now it only works on Word documents. So it doesn't really yet work on PowerPoint and Excel. We're working really hard on this. We're gonna get there to a point, but right now it's only Word documents.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely see the use for this tool. You just want to go in there and quickly see what changes that are going without going to a separate different website or something. You just see everything right there within your email. And that's another question I forgot to ask. What email client does it work with?
Right now, the email client to support is the Google Apps email. So you can create, if you have your own domain, so if you have a small business and you registered a website for your business, so mybusiness.com, you can use Google Apps as your email service. And even more than email, it can be calendar, it can be Google Docs, so all these services you can have for your own domain. So if you're a user of this, and there's about 3 million businesses that use this, you can just go on the Google Apps Marketplace, install DocDoc, and it's as easy as this. So there's it's going to be, that's the only thing you need to do.
So why did you guys choose Google Apps as the medium from which you're going to launch your tool?
That's a good question, and we get asked a lot by people. See, Outlook is a very used application.
And by the way, are we done with the presentation so I can get you back on the picture?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, can you see me?
Yes, I can see you. I started my video. I just want to make sure okay, there you go. Can you see me?
It's still coming. I really hope that the thing is being recorded. Everything is recording correctly. So far, it's looking very good. So, what was the question asked again? Okay, so I see that you primarily are on the Google Apps. So, what was the reason for having your product launch on Google Apps as opposed to any other platforms out?
Yeah, well, the very first prototype we did was actually a plugin for an email client called Thunderbird. And when we started to really build a company on this, the first email client we thought was a good place was Outlook. At the same time, we had on our website a little form explaining what we were doing and asking people interested in trying this out, which email client they were using. So are you using Thunderbird? Are you using Outlook? Are you using Apple Mail? Are you using Gmail? Are you using Google Apps? And it turns out an overwhelming majority of people were Google Apps and Gmail users. Okay. So basically we decided to go on Google Apps because that's where most of our early adopters and people wanted to test this and use this. That's what they were using. So that's where we went.
Okay. And being a tool that you're coming into a market where you actually bring in a tool that maybe I'm sure there might not be that many competitors out there, so that people can say, okay, I've seen this tool somewhere similar before. And so if you bring in a new product to the market like you guys were bringing, how exactly did you get the users to basically understand what the tool does?
That's a very hard thing to do. We've been trying to change the message, and refine it to make sure people understand it. I guess the first test case are basically close family and friends. I mean, I have a lot of family and friends that aren't techies, so you try to explain what you do. If they don't understand after 10 seconds, then that means your message is not good. So basically that's the basic refining. And we did usability testing. So we're asking for volunteers we just recruit out of anywhere to come in our office for about an hour, try to do things we asked them to do with our product. And one of the first thing is go on our website and explain what our company does.
So basically, when you go on the website, you're telling them, go on my website and tell me what you think we do. Okay.
Exactly. So that was, I mean, the very first usability session we did, we had really good answers. And it was everywhere. So when you introduce something that is new, that is not very comparable to something that exists, and you can't say, well, we do like them, but a little better, you have to test your message. There's just no way to come up with the right message outside of testing it with volunteers.
Okay, so and how exactly, just I want to dive deep a little bit so that other people that are listening to this will have ideas for tools that maybe are coming out that don't even have like a market for yet. They can basically decide how they go about doing this test. So you understood you need to do tests. So how did you go about carrying out this test? Did you use like a service, or how did you?
It was very simple. We have the person that was handling the organization of this basically used mostly LinkedIn, Twitter to ask for volunteers. So we defined what kind of volunteer we wanted. So we wanted someone that was a Google Apps user for sure, and someone that was working as either a freelancer or someone in a small business doing professional services. So someone that matched what we thought was our market. So anyone that matched this, if you want to spend an hour with us, we're going to give you $50. Come with us on that day, and just to get your feedback.
Oh, so there was actually an incentive for them to, besides trying the free tool, which is awesome, but there was an additional incentive for them to do the test. But didn't you run into a situation where you're thinking like, okay, if there's an incentive for them to do the test, how am I sure they're actually going to give me the actual results that I want, since I'm paying them to do the test?
It's actually giving them the money makes sure that they come in and give you the results, and it makes sure that when you don't give money and you don't give incentive for people to come, what you end up having is friends or people you already know. And it's hard to get a very neutral or objective appraisal of your company and your product from someone you know. I mean, if your friend presented you something that thinks it's the best thing since sliced bread, and he asks for your opinion, are you going to tell him it sucks? So you want someone you don't know, that you have absolutely no relation with, and we ask them to come during business hours. So that's another good reason to say, if you're taking a day, an hour off your business day, we're actually going to give you something in return for it.
Okay. So I see the next step is you did some tests. What next did you guys do?
Well, the website, the headline you see on the website, we did some different scenarios. So depending on the visitor, when you come in, the headline that comes in, there's 3 different headlines that just go randomly.
Really?
So we try to figure out, based on, is there a difference between people that register? Does the headline they saw make a difference? So actually it was. So the headline that gave the best result in sort of people signing up is the one that we kept right now.
And how did you guys come up with the headlines in the first place? Was it based off the research, the tests that you did with people, and what they told you, what they thought the website was about? Is that how you came up with the sequence of headlines?
Yeah, the headlines were our own best guess of what we think is the value the product brings, the problem it solves, and then we compare it to in the usability test, I mean, the first step was to see our website, explain, and then there's a few things we asked them to do to see if our interface is user-friendly enough for them to do it without explanation. And at the last step, we asked them for feedback on other product. Where do they see themselves using this? So that's a very good place to find where the user problem is and to define that headline. So if out of 5 people in a day, 4 tell you, well, I really see myself using this to quickly compare different versions I receive, well, I think we have something there. So let's put compare versions you receive at the headline. So yeah, it's a bit of both. So it's really our best guess and what we get as feedback. Yeah.
Okay. And so I take it now that you have these headlines and you're testing, you set up tests so that you can see, and I guess you're also setting up funnels where each headline goes through a specific funnel, right? Is that what's happening, or?
Yeah, and the funnel, there's not that many steps. You go on the front line, on the front page, there's a big button that says Add to Google Apps, and then at some point you're going to create the account. And once this is created, we can match this to which page on the website you saw, so which version of the headline you saw. And we can have it's very basic stats. I mean, it doesn't have to, technically it's not really hard. It's just a matter of setting it up. And I mean, the key word for this is A/B testing. So if you want to figure out tools to do this on the web, just type in Google A/B testing, and you're going to find a lot of resources on this.
Oh, okay. Okay, so now they've come into the phone. I was trying to figure out, okay, how do you get them back, like in terms of retention, how do you get them to come back and use the tool? And also, besides the retention factor, how do you get them to spread the news to all their friends and all that about the same tool? The reason I'm asking this is because there might be people who actually have apps out there, or software businesses that are listening to this podcast as we're talking, and there might be some people who have regular businesses who might get some ideas from what we're talking about and also incorporate it into their business. Yeah,
well, since the virality of the product is not super clear. Maybe you use it yourself, and when you send an email to someone, there's nothing that says I'm using Google Apps. So we're not hijacking your email or adding ads in your email. Yeah. That's something I think bothers most people. But the thing is, in Google Apps, the way it works is once one person installs it, it gets installed for everyone in the domain. So if you have a small company of 5 or 10 people, and someone says, okay, I like this application, let me install it, everybody else in the company is going to see below their message a little bar that says activate your DocDoc account. So we're seeing a very good more users registering just because one person liked it and made it available to everyone else by default. And the virality is one thing, but when people like your application, they talk about it to other people. So it's really a matter of making sure the people that register, you send them emails, making sure they're having any problems. They like what they see. They may have ideas, and usually, if they really like it, they will talk about it to some people. So even though there's not a very clear viral pipeline in your product, the word of mouth will get its way if your application is useful. Okay, so then moving into retention now is they sign up for the product, they're using it. I understand that, okay, because it's part of the Google app, it's in the Google app platform, when they sign up, everybody who's within their company is also going to be maybe informed or something. I don't know, maybe is there going to be a link in the emails that they're using? The same way you saw it below your message, they're going to see it like that. It's just that it will be just a button that says activate. Oh, okay. Okay. So the only thing, you click on it and that's it. They're on as well. Okay. So, for example, there's a few big companies that the first one installed it sometime in July, and we're still seeing today some people activating. So every time, some people just take more time than others. But out of one install 2 months ago, we're still seeing new users get in on a regular basis.
Okay. And then in terms of retention now, which is you've getting them back to using the tool.
Yeah.
What steps are you guys taking to do that?
Yeah. Well, there's when you have a web application, you need the people to actually open your website and log back in. Opening your email is something a lot of people do on a regular basis. Yeah. And we're right below that message. So in terms of getting people to open our application, the retention is very strong because as long as you open your email, we're going to be there. Now, what we really track is explicit usage of our platforms. So if you read the message, our DocDoc is below that message, but you don't do anything with it, well, that's no good. So we're really trying to figure out, okay, how many emails with attachments were opened, how many times, if there was an attachment, our plugin was used, and we try to see from people, okay, why didn't you see it, what did you use it, what would make you use it. So it's really asking and making, again, usability testing, getting this in front of users and looking at your user using it, with you sitting in the background, so that you learn a lot from looking at people using your product.
Okay, definitely. And so I was trying to find out also, are there any plans for you guys to maybe move out from not really move out, but like move into other platforms like Outlook and all that in the future?
Oh yeah, certainly. The core, I mean, the biggest part, the hard thing to do with our system is done on the server side, and the only thing we need is an IMAP connection. IMAP is a very standard protocol that most email clients use to get your email from the server. So there's no big technical thing that ties us to Google Apps other than the small user interface. So it's just a matter of getting that user interface in Outlook and other email clients, because the biggest part of the work is already platform agnostic.
Okay. And one thing I also want to convey in every interview I do is, I mean, as every business, every entrepreneur, you always have challenges that you face. And one thing I find out is that people learn from stories of the challenges that people face and how they basically walked through it and became successful, or beat that challenge as so to speak. So my question really is, seeing the product, you've created the product, you've done the user testing and all that stuff, what challenges have you guys gone so far, and how exactly have you guys been able to counteract that the challenges?
It's hard to pinpoint one challenge.
The top of mind one, the one that comes to mind quickly.
I think the biggest challenge was really trying to figure out how to implement the idea. So we knew what we wanted to do was to make document management over email. Now this is the idea. Now how does that actually get implemented into a product is a whole different question. And we did try a lot of things, and what you just saw today is about the fourth iteration on this. So the challenge is really so how it's gonna work? I mean, how do the people create the account? What's gonna happen when they create the account? What's gonna be the things? So how are they gonna verify the versions? So these questions, when you're creating something new and there's nothing to base yourself on, it's extremely challenging. And so so when you've built something and you figure out that it doesn't work and people don't understand how to use it, then you got to say, okay, well, let's go back to the drawing board and start again. This is challenging. So it's the fourth iteration we're doing right now. That's I guess that's the big challenge of being able to say, well, that was a good idea, it didn't work, so let's try a different way.
And that's the way you answered it really is a thing that most business owners face. Is the easy part is getting the idea. I mean, I've been guilty of the same thing too. Is getting the idea is the easy part, but the actual implementation is the hard part. Not only that, be willing to go through several different iterations of trying it, failing, and trying it over again till you find one that sticks. I guess that's something that the audience needs to have stick in the head. Is take the idea, turn to an actual implementation of the idea, and know that implementation might not work. You got to keep doing it over and over again till something sticks.
Yeah, exactly. And you got to be ready to say, okay, the basic idea is still there. When I talk about it with people, they understand the idea, they like the idea, but somehow the product I've built based on the idea doesn't stick. People don't understand how to use it. I mean, and this will happen for sure. So it's something you got to be prepared to face and go over and start again. Yeah.
Definitely, and I can see that you guys use a lot of user feedback in being able to weigh how you make changes or improvements and all that.
Yeah.
How exactly have you guys, how do you guys, after they become clients or users of your software, how do you encourage that feedback, or how do you get that feedback from them, or through what channels do you monitor that feedback and make use of the feedback?
There's a few steps that we do when you create your account. Of course, like pretty much every application does, we just send an email right ahead that says, well, thanks for creating the account. Here's a few key things about the product you should know. And then a week after the account has been created, I send personally another email to everyone that created the account the week before, just to make sure there's no problems. Because sometimes people create the account, they try to do something, and there's an error, the connection went down, and they say, well, it doesn't work, leave that, and they didn't never come back. So just sending that email to see, well, was there an error, is everything right, sometimes gets people back and remember they've installed this and give it a second try. And after that, after a few more days, there's a survey that will appear below, and then it asks you if you want to fill a few very small questions. It takes less than 5 minutes. It can't be very long. So very few questions. So how did you hear about it? Would you recommend this to someone? If the product for some reason disappeared, would you be very disappointed? Would you be disappointed? Would you not care at all?
Survey.io question.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the one we used. So I mean, it's a very good way to get questions from people, and the last thing you ask is, would you mind us to contact you? So about 30 to 40% actually gave us their email address and said, yes, you can come back and ask me a few questions. So it's, the number of people that do fill these surveys compared to the people that just say no thanks and go on is usually not that high. But for the people that do take the time to fill it, it's very valuable information.
Okay. And I want to go dive into what you just said, because you said some very good things. I think all business owners, regardless of what type of business they're doing, they can get some points out of it. The first thing I noticed is that you're not asking all the heavy duty questions in the beginning when they're coming in, right? So you're trying to make the ease of them signing up for the product in the first place easy, so that there's no, what's the word for it, distraction, or I don't know exactly, the word doesn't come to mind, but you're making it easy for them to get into the product and actually use the product itself, right? That's the first thing you're doing. And then when you start using the product, you're basically going in there and trying to, you're sending them the personal contact email to welcome them to the product, and also doing some, trying to seek the feedback from them. How long after they start using the product do you actually try and get them to fill out that survey?
We were waiting, I think it was 14 days. So the first email was 7 days. Now, we just released a new version about 2 weeks ago, so we put a pause in the survey for the time the new version get in, and we should get the survey back up soon. But so the first email was the day you register, and then at first I was asking if there was any problems and getting some feedback just 3 or 5 days afterwards, and the response I got was, well, I haven't had the time to actually play with it yet. So you gotta give them time to try it out, to get the feel of it. So 7 days turns out is a good time. So it's a week after people usually have had the chance to play with it a little bit. And then the survey was even further. So again, it's really, the first email is just, here's what it does. The second email is, have you had the chance to use it? Any feedback, any problems? And then 2 weeks later on, we ask you, could you take 5 minutes to give us a little feedback? And thank you. So it's, give them time to use it. Try to engage them progressively. and make sure you don't ask for specific feedback before the person actually had the chance to try it out.
And from the survey itself, which comes 2 weeks after, let's tell the users again, the listeners. I don't know why I keep saying users. The audience. Let's tell the audience what the questions are specifically, and then explain, why you're even asking in the first place.
Yeah, well, these questions, I won't take the credits for inventing these questions because it's a survey template. If you go on survey.io, it's a very simple to set up. And that set of question has been tested and retested, and it's fast to get in, and it gets you valuable information. So the question they ask is, first of all, how did you hear about us? Did you hear about us from a Google search, from our blog, from a colleague, from a reference? Then it asks, what's the biggest value you got from the application? Describe what the application does for you in your own words. If the application were to disappear, would you not care at all because you don't use it? Would you be disappointed, or would you be very disappointed? And that's a good measure of how useful your tool is. And then there's also open questions like, would you recommend this application to which kind of person or which kind of professional do you think that tool would be most useful for? And again, generic feedback. So it's a very simple template. You don't need to invent your question. Some people already did the big work, so you can just use the survey, and it's a really good tool for this.
Yeah, and when you get that feedback, I'm assuming that not everybody's going to use it, but when you get the feedback, how exactly do you take that feedback and turn it into something useful?
You read the feedback when there's answers you don't understand, or people put comments that don't you can't make sense of what they wrote. Usually try to contact them to say, well, I'm not sure I understand what you say, could you clarify? But most of the time it's fairly clear. People propose things that say, well, it would be a lot better if it did this. So if you see the same thing coming over and over again, well, that's a good cue that you should do it. So that's how you look at it. So, and if some of the features never get mentioned, or if what you thought was a good thing to add to your product, nobody talks about it. It's just, well, forget it. Let's do something else.
So that's kind of an indicator that if you have something that you think is a big feature and nobody's talking about it, or they're not even telling you one of the reasons why, that's one of the reasons why they're using it, the service or the tool, then maybe you need to cut that thing off and be focused on the things that when you do that feedback, they're talking the most about.
Yeah. So get your basic product out and ask people what else they'd like it to do. So you got to be, the thing is, you can't ask users what features they want to see. You have to ask users what other problems they see. Your job as a product guy or girl is really to get from the user what's the problem, the pain they have, and your job is to turn this into a feature, into a product. The user isn't going to tell you what feature you should build. They're going to tell you what problem the feature you build should solve. So don't ask the question, what feature should I add? It's not going to work. Just ask, what other problems do you need solved, and then your job is to figure out how to make what feature would solve that problem.
Wow, Bruno, I've really enjoyed this interview. As a matter of fact, not only have you showed us how to use your tool, you've actually, talked to us about, several different ways in which you're coming up with the ideas, and how some of my audience can actually take some of the ideas you're talking about and even implement in their business. I really appreciate you coming on the show and talking to us this long. Appreciate it.
This has been a pleasure. Maybe to close this, Henry Ford, there's a nice quote about him that said, if I asked my user what they wanted, they would ask for a faster horse. So it's really about, you got to take user feedback, but you can't expect your users to tell you what you need to build. So it's got to be driving, but you got to be the one that defines the vision and tries to turn a product into what you think the people are going to like. Yeah.
Definitely. So I want my users to check you out. Where should we direct them to? How can they get in contact?
Our website, docdok.com, is where they should go.
And also, is there a way for them to connect with you on Twitter, social media, or anything like that?
Yes, of course. There's the Twitter account, That is DocDoc Inc. So in one word. My personal Twitter account, which is the one I use the most, is my name. So in one word, Bruno Morency. So BrunoMorency.
Definitely. I'm glad you came on the show. As a matter of fact, let me try and pronounce your name for you, because you know when you initially introduced you, Bruno Morency, so you said Bruno Morency. Bruno Morency.
Morency, yeah. It's
Okay.
is not a word common in a sound common in English. It's ra rather than ren, but it doesn't really matter.
Bruno Morency.
Exactly. Then you say it really well.
Got it. Thank you very much for coming on the show. I really enjoyed
Thanks
it.
so. It's been a pleasure. Very nice discussion. Thanks a lot for the opportunity.
Thank you very much.
So welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I really want to know what exactly you think. I mean, if I suck and if I'm not doing a good job, I want to know, because by your input and your comments, your suggestions, your feedback, that's how I'm going to improve on the entire package of what I'm sharing with you. I really want to improve so that you know that your time is well spent when you watch my videos. And if I do good on interviews, and if you like certain things I do, please let me know so I can even improve upon that as well. And I want to thank you really, because your time is well spent, and I mean your time is important to me, and I want to make sure that I continuously put this information in front of you. So I want you to join my community, and in order to do that, you need to click on the link that says get the free ebook, enter in your name and email, and you will receive as a gift from me my free ebook titled The Entrepreneur's Guide to Running a Business in the Cloud. The reason I do that is because I want to share with you that information. You can check it out and make use of it in your business. In the same vein, I will be sending you email updates every time I have new blog posts, as well as if I have new stuff that is not even on the blog, I want to share with you. That way we can stay in contact. One more thing. Before you go, I want to also let you know that if you are really serious about finding, hiring, training, and even working with virtual assistant, if right now you want to get that started, why don't you sign up for my free webinar where I share everything about the entire process. And you can get to do that by clicking on the link on the very top of my blog where it says sign up for the free webinar. Again, thanks for watching the video, and I hope to see you next time.